Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Weighing In, brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Joined today, as almost always, both Mark Ostrander and Grant Turner. Grant, we always do the read about Nike Wrestling. The Freaks are back. The Freaks are back. I have heard sales have been robust. I've had many people call me and got on the website. 3 colorways: black, white, blue, white, white, gold. Is that the right description? White, yellow,
Yep.
White, gold.
Yep.
So I don't know which databases you are privy to, but are sales good? And how should people get these shoes?
Yeah. Excited to bring back the Nike Freak. Once again, I think it's been a few years since it's been re-released. So, basically the athleteps.com website. I know that other partners of ours, Wrestling Mart, Dick's Sporting Goods, have also included themselves in our launch with the product. So once again, if it's a close drive to Dick's, or if you're in California, go stop by the showroom and see Nate and Dave. And then, of course, on our website, athleteps.com, limited supply. Once again, I think it was just kind of a quick drop for us. But yeah, it's a really awesome shoe. If you haven't been able to wear it in a couple of years, go there, grab yourself one while they still last.
So these are the ones, I can say this now, these are the ones I saw in April in Vegas. You had a box of them in the back, or maybe it was Fargo, but it was Vegas. You showed me some shoes in Vegas.
Yep. I think, the Freak was a part of that presentation. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to go on for, the future of that shoe here this fall. And once again, I think you're going to see a lot of kids in the state finals or Fargo finals or NCAA finals wearing those. So excited for them.
They're super popular with the teams, the NCAA teams that you partner with. I mean, and I think that's what the Joe Q public on the street wants to buy, those shoes that Penn State's wearing and Oklahoma State's wearing and all these other schools are wearing. They're Nike schools, Iowa. I don't want to slight anybody, but these teams that are partners of yours, Cornell, et cetera. And so it's great that, and some of those colorways obviously go really well with certain teams, right? Like the blue ones with Penn State, the black ones with Iowa, the blue ones with Michigan, that kind of thing. So I don't know if I'll ever run into Shane to find out how many pair you guys sold, but I have a guess on how many it'll be. So it feels like
millions, Dave, millions.
Millions, $1 million. So,
I have billions when you can have millions.
Those extra zeros are just so arduous. They're all just tax dollars. So Marco, we missed you. How are you, brother?
I'm good. Been busy.
Yeah. Let's talk about international wrestling first. Sadulaev wins the wrestle-off at 92 kgs. For our fans that are mainly college wrestling fans, this is the same weight that David Taylor is at. To kind of give this context, Sadulaev normally wrestles at the Olympic weight of 97, or Taylor normally wrestles the Olympic weight of 86. They're meeting in the middle almost exactly, half a kilo off at 92. He won 10-7. He had, if you saw the match, he had some moments of really high-level wrestling. It feels like maybe he's a step slower, though. So, first of all, I think now we all hope, and with Gazimpor there too, I think we all hope David Taylor wrestles. I know that's sort of a TBD decision. GT, I'll start with you. You're an international guy. Not necessarily asking you to pick a winner, but what are some things that people should look out for if Sadulaev and Taylor wrestle?
Well, this is something that I think everybody in the United World Wrestling community has kind of wanted to see is, David versus Sadulaev, or even Jaden Cox versus Sadulaev, just because they're both world champions. And we've seen Kyle Snyder wrestle Sadulaev, I think maybe 6 times now.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a one of those like fantasy matchups that you always want to see. It's like boxers where there's like they've kind of been a champion at other weight classes, and you just like kind of want to see how they mix it up, right? So once again, I think that Sadulaev dropping down to 92, David basically coming up to 92. It'll be a really cool match if that does come to fruition. And I think that there's other guys from all over the world that will be representing at these Gassimport. We talked about him. We've talked about Masurazde from Georgia. There's a lot of guys that are in that kind of conversation, but I think what is so cool to see is Olympic champion versus Olympic champion, no matter how you can get it. So if that does happen, that'd be really, really, really cool.
Yeah, the technical breakdown though, because you're smart about this, and here's my thoughts, and I want both of your guys' thoughts. So Jaden was the guy for us at 92 forever, okay? And Jaden, Snyder, and David have very, very different styles, right? Like Snyder to me is, and I'm not asking you guys to sign off on my assessment. I'm just saying my assessment. Snyder, and I'm simplifying this, very much straight ahead, go forward, get you tired, happy to shoot you off the mat, get the ones, will nickel and dime you to death, and will exhaust you. Not a great top game. Deep parterre defense is fine. Jaden, super explosive, wrestles like he weighs 120 pounds, but is fine in having fewer exchanges in the match. We'll wrestle a 2-1 match. We'll wrestle a shot clock match. Feels like he can go get one when he needs to. Doesn't necessarily start sprinting too early. Taylor, big-time sprinter. Probably the biggest variety of attacks of the three of them. Certainly the highest volume of multiple attacks of the three of them. Really the best counter defense in terms of putting you on your back. Jaden's super good at winning scrambles. Snyder, super basic, just get legs back, chest wrap, stalemate, maybe go behind. So, Taylor did it to Zahid. Take a shot, which is a good shot. It turns into a bad shot very quickly, and you're cradled and you're pinned. You're not like on your back. You're stuck. And even if you're in the other guy's corner, you're like, well, we were pinned in that match. So to me, it's three very different guys that Sadulaev could potentially have seen. I don't think he ever wrestled Jaden. It would have happened at the Olympics if Jaden had won that semifinal match in 2016. So I'll go to you first, GT. The way I see this is Taylor's also one of the best guys in the world at stopping guys from hitting go-behinds. Like when he gets, and that's an art. And I feel like that's the next thing that needs to be taught around the world, because go-behinds have become the attack. Like I fake shoot, get you under me, and then I go run corner on you. It does not feel like this will be a super tactical match. I mean, I don't think David's going to shoot just to be shooting. And I think his volume has gone down a little bit since he went up to 92, just not quite as active. We saw Heidley get a go-behind takedown on him, albeit literally turned into Superman for about 2 seconds to get it. So I feel like Taylor will be more of the puncher. Sadulaev will be more of the counter puncher. And I feel like if David can do enough of that and get him tired, it could be a distinct advantage. But he kind of gets you tired in a different way than Snyder does. So that's really what I'm asking you, GT. Like, what am I right here? Am I wrong here? What would you add or subtract from what I'm thinking?
Well, I think when we play style matchups, and I think we can, basically discuss high-level wrestling for a lot of different things. Like style matchups are a huge part of it, right? So, I think if you've watched Sadulaev wrestle anybody that has a little bit more length, like kind of how David's built, it'll be interesting to see if David gets that like tail motion, like where he's like kind of reaching and then kind of hits those either blast doubles or ankle picks type situations. I'll be very interested to see how Sadulaev does with kind of being possibly the bigger athlete, meaning coming down from 97, being able to, kind of bully and push underhook type situations. I think I can't think of someone other than maybe Snyder that's kind of that thick chested, like brick looking guy in the US. I think Hidley is very wide, but he's not as tall as Sadulaev, but like has that kind of build, but doesn't necessarily throw an underhook as much as Hidley does. But I think, once again, if we're talking about three different styles and variables, we talk about David Taylor, Jaden Cox, Kyle Snyder, like those matchups play huge factors in their head-to-head matchup. And I think if you guys go to the UWW website, you can see the whole entry list of like kind of all those guys that are in that weight class. So hopefully you can kind of do a little bit of research and look at some of those guys as they are in those brackets, maybe for the first time, or if you're seeing it, it's a good idea.
There's a lot of people that are just going to look at the headline and expect guys like us to do some of the heavy lifting and homework for them. But I think it's an exciting matchup. And when you mention the three guys, it's like fastball, curveball, changeup, right? Like they're all going to try to strike you out, but they're going to do it differently. Mark, you and I have talked a little bit off the air about how good Taylor is at clearing underhooks. You know, I think he had to be good at that to beat Yazdani. And so that skill set may come in handy for him here with Sadulaev. What are your other thoughts on the matchup if it were to happen?
I'm not sure, just because Sadulaev is so good when you get in on his legs. That's pretty much how he scores a lot of his points. You don't see him going out there shooting a ton unless he's reacting to one of your bad shots and he stops you and then he pops you there. So I'm not sure if David's going to go straight at him or David's going to play more of a counter game, because David's very good at that. But I think on the mat wrestling, the parterre, in this, not even being on top, David can put you in some really bad positions like he did against in the finals to win it.
Is it he?
Against Valencia. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of what you'd have to hope for. I think Gasipor is probably, to me, going to be the hardest out for anybody. I think he's legit.
Yeah, he's wrestled 92 before, right?
Yeah.
I think go ahead.
And I also think Sadulaev, he looked really good in that first period, and then he started giving up points. And a lot of that may have to do with the weight cut. There's a big difference when you're cutting down that far, and he hadn't been down there in a long time.
It's 11 pounds, a fraction over 11 pounds. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get more. The thing is, like, we were talking off air about what are we going to talk about today? Like, college wrestling starts in 4 or 5 weeks. The All-Star meets in a couple weeks. We just had Who's Number One. Like, there's a lot for us to cover, get our picks out, all that stuff. But I wanted to talk about this because Sadulaev just wrestled. I didn't want to wait and act like we're not aware of it. So, all right, Who's Number One happened. I think, like, to me, the big things that stuck out to me on the boys' side, Jaden James announced himself. Nacio beaten Munaredo fairly easily. You know, the guys in Oklahoma weren't surprised. I think Jude Correa dominating Sahaki is really fascinating, especially since they're both heading to Michigan. And it certainly doesn't seem like Correa is too small to wrestle heavyweight. Sergio Vega looked really good against Gorman. Ziola outscrambled Posada. Knox beat Seidel super late. First 4-timer there. Jax beats Mendoza again. Like we said, Jaden James came back. He beat Shaw going, twice. Ladarian Bumps beats Ryan Burton. And then Bassett Zepeda, 3 takedowns to 1. Not super close. They may wrestle again at Super 32 in a couple weeks. But congrats to Flo on pulling off a great event. Morgan Turner, big winner on the girls' side. Bella Williams wins. Edmond North, shout out. Sarah Henkel. I mean, they do a good job of running the meet. They great tribute to Pitt Johnstown and Pat Pecora by Jody Strittmatter ahead of time. So as a guy that runs events, it's always cool to see other people run them and succeed and do things like that. So shout out to those guys. All right. Another big announcement. They announced natties for 27 and 28. I knew ahead of time that they were only going to do this in 2-year cycles. I talked to several sports commissioners. They told me that. Not sure why. I'm sure the NCAA has a good reason. St. Louis gets it in 27, and then we're going to a football stadium in 28. So I think the Minnesota one in 28, I think it was almost conceded by all the people bidding that they will get one of the 2 years because of what happened with COVID. And I also think the NCAA is interested in seeing how it does in a football stadium. For people that don't know, what I'm told is that a city bids on it, and then it's up to the city to make more money than the bid. Well, one of the ways to make more money than the bid is to have an extra 20,000 tickets to sell. So if that's the case, they could probably generate the highest bid. So, Mark, no disparaging comments, but your thoughts on St. Louis and on Minneapolis.
No, I like both of them. I mean, they're both drivable for people from the Midwest, which is, nice for us. St. Louis always does a great job. And I've always enjoyed going to St. Louis. It's great eating. You can pretty much walk from a lot of the hotels to the arena, which is nice. So you don't have to drive, find parking. So, and I know people in St. Louis, David. I know, one or two. So that's kind of nice.
Ron and Jam. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
And I get free breakfast every morning if I want it. I just got to show up.
Those are facts. Yeah.
And then, obviously Minneapolis, I'm really excited for, just because I think being in a football stadium, I think it's going to be really neat. I'm not sure the sites, how far the guys are away from you is going to be a problem, but I'm sure they're going to have the big screen TVs up there, and you're going to be able to see pretty much everything. Like you do in a football game, halftime you're watching it on that instead of looking down the field. But it'll be fun to see how they do it. Minneapolis is a great city. So, and I'm glad they got it. They deserve it.
Marco, or GT rather, sorry.
Yeah, I think if we're, I'm excited. Well, first off, I'm excited for Philadelphia upcoming this season because it hasn't been back to Philly for a long time. So I'm excited to bring it back to the East Coast. They always do a really good job with, filling that place out. And then as far as St. Louis and Minneapolis, I think that if Minneapolis goes the way that I hope that it does, what an environment that will be for wrestling if we can pack US Bank with, I didn't even Google it, but like 60,000.
Yeah. I'll Google it. Keep going.
But I think the atmosphere of that would be really cool to see. It's not going to be as intimate like as we've had in the past, like where you get down in the lower bowl and you can like basically see everything like up and close. But yeah, that's going to be a really, really cool finals experience as well. Because I can imagine that that's going to be, kind of like a rock concert where you got a stage, you got people on the floor, you got people in the stands, you're using the Jumbotron, NFL pyrotechnics, like the whole thing, right? So, and once again, I think that, I can't remember ever having the national tournament in Minnesota.
I don't think it's been there. I mean, I was working with Egum and those guys for Border Brawl. By the way, 66,000 and change is the capacity. It says he has the ability to expand to 73, where our stadium in St. Louis, the Enterprise Center, is 18,000 and change. So you're talking about 48,000 extra tickets. Even if St. Louis expands and somehow gets to 20 with putting people on the floor and boxes and everything else. The sight lines is a very interesting thing, right? Because a football field is 120 yards long with the end zones, and I think it's 60 yards wide, give or take. And a basketball court is 50 by 94 feet, and it's essentially 4 basketball courts. So it's 200 by 94, call it 200 by 100. It's 66 by 33 yards. So if you plop that in the middle of a football thing, you got a bunch of dead space if you put all the mats next to each other. And if you space them out, like every 10 yards or so, I mean, that's another thing you could do, right? Like just put them right down the middle of the field on the hash marks and just go from end zone to end zone. And, then, I mean, there's going to be plenty of room to walk around, but it's, the sidelines are going to be interesting. I cannot be a hypocrite. Every year I try to do something new with the events we run. So I want this to succeed. And more importantly, I'm shouting out anybody who's trying to do something new and cool. And I do think it'll bring a lot of attention to wrestling from people that aren't wrestling fans, right? Like GT, to your point, if we can put 50 or 60,000 people in a football stadium, then I think it, like ESPN or somebody else may talk about it. The financial dynamics of it are interesting because when people scramble for NCAA tickets, it's like, well, you can get them, but you got to call this school and you got to join their club and call the Hall of Fame or whoever and pay this extra fee. And you guys know I'm a business guy. This is just supply and demand. There's a lot of demand and there's not enough supply. Well, if you go add 40,000 tickets or 30,000 tickets, I don't think there's going to be a bunch of surcharges. I think you'll be able to get as many tickets as you want. The teams will be able to get more tickets. And a lot of the teams are unhappy about how many tickets they get now. That won't be a problem. But there's just going to be extra tickets. And as somebody, I talked to a guy the other day who promotes fights, and he goes, the number one thing I have too much of is tickets. And the number two thing one thing I don't have enough of is money. It's like I'd always trade tickets for money. Well, they're going to create a whole new economic model. We have plenty of time to talk about it, but happy for the boys in Minnesota that got that. They deserve it. Those 2 years when that got canceled and then St. Louis had to do the one at 20 to 25% capacity. I mean, I remember that one specifically, GT, because normally I stayed downtown and I drove back and forth, and you were actually kind enough to let me use the parking pass at your hotel because you guys were staying close enough and had, flew in or Ubered in or had an extra parking pass or whatever. But it'll be super interesting to see how that all shakes out. So anyway, all right, let me go here, see what else we got. Because I have our picks from last year, and I'm sure they're perfect. I'm sure we didn't miss anything. So, all right. So we are going to talk about the NWCA All-Star Meet, but we're going to wait a week or so because we need to start getting some of our picks out for this coming year. So we got time to at least get through 25 and 33. So Mark's picks last year at 25, Figs, Ramos, McKee, Ayala, Noto, Barnett, Peterson, Camacho. So you got the champ. Ayala was in there. Noto was in there. Barnett was in there. So 4 All-Americans, really good. I had Figs, Ramos, Camacho, Ayala, Barnett, McKee, Ventresca, Noto. So I had Figs as the champ, Ayala, Barnett, Noto. I think Mark was probably a little closer to where those guys placed. GT had Ramos, Noto, McKee, Figs, Barnett, Ayala, Camacho, Ventresca. So feels like we all had the same 8 or 9 guys and, just kind of slotted them around a little bit. And then we'll talk about 33, and then we'll try to get through these. Mark had Vito and Fix, 1, 2. Nagao 3, Bird 4. Can't blame him for Bird redshirting. Bouzakis, Latona, Arini, Cannon. I had Vito, Fix, Nagao, Latona, Bouzakis, Bird, Arini, Klebo. GT had Fix, Vito, Nagao, Latona, Bird, Arini, Bouzakis, Cannon. So again, we all had kind of the same guys. And so far, Mark and me are 2 for 2 on picking champs. So, all right, we will get into the rankings here at 25. Here are the top. It sounds like another crazy weight. I'll go top 20 here at we'll hop between Intermat and Flow. Figs, Noto, Volk, Caleb Smith, Matt Ramos, Tanner Jordan, Spratley, Camacho, Poulin, Cooper Flynn, Nick Provo, Dean Peterson, Diacomo Hollis, Diego Sotelo, Strickenberger, Terrakina, McCrone, Noah Certain, Ramazan Adasayev has transferred to Illinois. That's your top 19. Ventresca's at 22. Over at Flow, just trying to see if there's any. They got Max Renneria in there at 14. They got Brendan McCrone at 17. Those are kind of the big stickouts here. So, Mark, before we get into picks, just thoughts on 25. Do you think it'll be as chaotic as last year?
Yes.
You do?
I do. I think it's going to be absolutely nuts. There's just so many good kids, and they're all about the same, David.
It's a big statement because 25 last year might have been the most chaotic weight. I think 6 times during the year, I'm like, I'm so glad I'm not doing rankings this year. Like, just for that weight alone. Or if we did a Mark, we'd have just started at 33 and got to the first 9. You'd have got some coffee. I got a Mountain Dew Zero, and then we try to crack this thing open. And for people that don't understand rankings, how to do them, the hard part of it is if GT has beat Mark, who has beat me, that's pretty simple. 1, 2, 3. The problem is, but then GT lost to the 17 guy, and I beat the 17 guy, but I lost to the 19 guy. And it's really hard when somebody's ranked wherever and they've beaten people above them and lost to people below them. You try to avoid that whenever possible when you're doing rankings. And the problem last year was everybody was like 5-5 against the top 10, give or take. So it's a big statement to say it's going to be as chaotic. Okay. Any other thoughts before we get to your picks?
Well, I think you got freshmen that are coming in that are going to make a statement. Little Doll from Penn State. I think he's going to be one of the top guys in the country, and he's a true freshman. So, and I'm not sure of all the other freshmen. I'd have to go through all the lineups. But, this kid that's going to wrestle at Iowa State that's here from Cuba, I'm kind of interested to see how good he is, especially when it comes to mat wrestling, because it usually takes him a while. But on his feet, I think he's probably going to be able to compete with everybody. So you just got to kind of wonder, where they're going to have him later on in the year.
Well, they've been pretty good with those Cubans, getting them good on the mat. I actually talked to a father yesterday at Oklahoma State, and they were saying the same thing about Sakamoto, because I asked him how good he was, and he goes, really good on his feet, still adjusting on the mat.
Yeah.
All right, GT, overall thoughts on 25 before you guys school me on these picks.
So I think one of the things that out of that list that you just kind of provided for us, one of the guys that I thought that we didn't talk about, and I don't know why he's maybe not ranked yet, is Luke Stanich from Lehigh.
He's redshirting. He's going up to 33 and redshirting behind Crookham, but otherwise 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, once again, I hadn't taken a look at that, but I just know, he was as far as chaos, and we were talking about like freshmen that come into and make a big impression, like the number 2 seed last year, not being in the bracket lends itself to a little bit more chaos, I think. So
he was the 2 seed. Braden Davis is the 1 seed. He's moving up, right? Ayala took 2nd. He's moving up. Figueroa had like 6 losses in the regular year, and he got beat by Renneria, so, and then he beat the guys he needed to at nationals. I almost jumped off the bandwagon with Figueroa last year. I got to be honest, because I thought he was the best guy. Oh, Mark's laughing. I called him one day I was making breakfast. I'm like, man, trying to be ride or die, but this is tough right now, So I think when you think about a guy that can win nationals, it's kind of if everybody wrestles their best, who can win it, and then who can hold it together for 3 days. And the second part was the big question with Figueroa, because, he just wasn't holding it together. But he wrestled well late. He actually got a higher seed at Natties than I thought, but I think he beat Caleb Smith late in the year, and that helped him a lot, and you kind of That's where, though, the seeding thing helps. Like if you beat the guy that took, say, third in the Big Ten, fifth in the Big Ten, you're probably going to slot in one slot above that guy. So, all right, Mark, you're the king of this. You want to give us?
I gotta go first.
Okay. By the way, 100%. The two guys that I said this to you off air. I'll say this on air. The two guys that I think that will place at nationals this year that didn't place last year. If you had to pick one guy that wrestled last year in college and one that didn't, give me Bastida and give me Lilladell. Those are my two guys. I'm not saying those are the best picks, but I feel really comfortable those guys are going to place at nationals. So,
agreed.
Okay. Well, then if Mark agrees, it's definitely right. All right. You not want to go first, Mark?
Not as much as you would think, but I will. I'm gonna take Lilladell winning it.
Okay.
I'm gonna take Figs to get second.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Matt Ramos at third.
Okay.
Troy Spratley at 4. I'm going to go Cooper Flynn at 5. I'm going to go Noto at 6. I'm going to go Dean Peterson at 7. And I'm going to take the true freshman from Iowa State. I don't know what his name is, but just put Iowa State down for 8.
Okay. GT, do you want me to go second or you go second?
You go second.
I love it, Grant. Way to be honest.
Hey, Cooper Flynn's in Minnesota now, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, I got to put this down because this is how we're going to compute our team score guesses. All right, so hold on. All right. I'm going to go Figs. I got to beat the champ to be the champ. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go Luke second. I think people that haven't watched Luke wrestle, his jab steps, some of the things he does like that are really, really high level. But he doesn't score as many points as people think he's going to if you've just seen his results. Okay, so I think that's something to keep an eye on. He'll win a lot of close matches, though, and he's not afraid to be in them. Everything I'm hearing out of Oklahoma State is that Spratley is crushing life down there, so I'm going to pick him third. I'm going to pick Noto fourth. I'm going to pick Volk fifth. I'm kind of surprised you skipped him, Mark.
Thank you, David.
No, I'm just surprised. Not like you're usually right. You're better at this than me.
I like the guys I picked.
Yeah.
Both kind of up and down.
Yeah.
He has been the last 2 years. So
he did place.
Yep.
I'm going to take Caleb Smith 6, if for no other reason. I hope he's celebrating on the mat or doing his warm-ups. A lot of fun to watch. I'll take Flynn. I'm going to take Ramos 7, and I'm going to take Flynn 8. GT, where if you don't give us picks, we're going to have to go 1 caution, 1 on you.
Oh, that's fine. All right, I'm going to take Lilladell to win it, Figueroa to make finals, Spratley third, Noto fourth, Jacob Camacho fifth, Volk 6, Matt Ramos 7, and Tarakina 8.
All right, you got it. I couldn't type that fast. Luke 1, Figs 2. Who's 3?
Spratley. Because
Okay.
I just think that with Gilman and Fix and just kind of
And RBY.
like a really good coaching staff to kind of bring him along a little bit.
Yeah.
And like he was really close with Ayala all season last year. Tough
Yes.
matches. Just think he's really good. I think Noto is just. He's a beast. Like if you haven't got a chance to watch Noto wrestle a ton, like he's just a monster.
That's who you have at 4, right?
Yeah.
And who's your 5 and 6?
Camacho Volk.
Camacho's a really good one. I can't believe we missed him. Okay, and 7 and 8.
Matt Ramos and Tyson Terrakina.
Now, Grant, just so you know, I was listening to a podcast that Kevin Dresser was on, and he said Terrakina's trying 133 Russell-offs.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Now that's going to make a difference.
Make a different pick at 8. We'll let you have a different pick.
Do you want to just take Iowa State at 8? Whoever they have?
No, let me
Come on, Grant.
I'll take Noah Certain.
Let's go, MIZ. Okay.
I'm not going ZOU on it. I don't care.
I hate that. I'm just saying. All right, so I want to make sure I got this right. GT, Luke, Fig, Spratley, Noto, Camacho, Volk, Ramos, Certain.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm clearing out the ones from last year. 33. These are the picks. These are the preseason rankings from Intermat, and then we'll go to Flow. Crookham, Bailey, Bird, Ragusin, Frost, Shaver, Ayala at 7. That's fascinating to me. Arini 8, Cannon 9, McGonigal 10, Braden Davis 11, Phipps, Wells, Van D, Bouzakis, Braxton Brown, Cleveland Belton, Marlon Yarborough, Oakley, Zacconi, Klebo, Brett Unger is up a weight. At Flow, Crookham, Bailey, they got Ayala at 3. Ragusin, Frost, Shaver, Arini, they have Nagao ranked instead of Braden Davis. Lucas Bird, Tyler Wells, Van D, Bouzakis, Carter McGonigal is somebody that I think is a possible noisemaker. Braxton Brown, nobody else. Probably the biggest ones difference there is where they have Ayala and McGonigal being in. GT, you want to start it off?
Yeah, I can take that.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to take Drake Ayala for the champ. I'm going to take Nasir Bailey making the finals. Take Ryan Crookham to get 3rd. I'm going to take Ragusin to get 4th. I'm going to take Frosty to get 5th. I'm going to take Kai Orini to get 6th. Taking Lucas Bird to get 7th. And I'm going to take, hold on, I got the other guy picked up here. I'm going to take Aaron Nagao to get 8th.
Well, I'm going to give you Nagao / Davis. We're just going to do that.
Okay.
And same thing for you, Mark, and me, obviously. Okay, I just want to read this back to you because you went slow enough. I think I got it. Ayala, Bailey, Crookham, Ragusin, Frost, Arini, Bird, Penn State.
Yep.
All right, Mark.
That was very good, Grant, by the way.
Thank you.
Those are pretty good picks. I'm going to take Crookham to win it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
He's
a lot.
Dude, you would have lost a lot of money, wouldn't you? I'm gonna take Drake Ayala to get 2nd.
All right, what's the score of that match in the finals?
I think it's a 1 or 2 point match.
Okay.
I'm gonna take Bailey to get 3rd.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Lucas Bird to get 4th.
People forget how good he is. Both you guys got him up there where I believe he belongs.
And I'm going to take Penn State 5th.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Ragusin 6th, Frost 7th, and I'm going to go with Jacob Van Dees for my 8th from Nebraska. Well, I thought had a great year last year.
I like that kid a lot. Yep. He's so good.
And he goes hard. He goes hard in the paint. Okay. Can I read these back to you, Mark?
Sure.
Crookham, Ayala, Bailey, Bird, Penn State, Ragusin, Frost, Van D.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I am torn here. I think GT's right. I think Ayala wins it. I think it was a hard cut for him last year. And I like Crookham 2nd. All right. I feel like Frost, am I crazy, guys, that he is just a backside monster, that he's going to just wrestle harder than anybody back there to pick him 3rd? Am I out of my mind?
I think he's a stud.
Okay. GT, you know his high school coach, don't you?
Oh yeah, but I think the one thing about Frost, he kind of came out of nowhere last year, and not very many people kind of knew about him. I think everybody knows about him now.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, I agree with that. So what's interesting is neither one of you guys picked Shawver. And so, all right, so those are my top 4. I'm going to go Bird 5. I'm going to go Arini 6. I'm going to go Shawver 7. And I'm going to go McGonigal 8.
What surprises me is none of us took Bouzakis to place.
That's a very good point.
Because he's on the U20, is U23 or U20 world team coming up here?
That's U23 coming up.
U23. I mean, it's nuts. That's how good these weights are.
I think the other thing that we all do a really good job of is that, once again, these are just gut picks, because it's not, there's so many good guys in these brackets. The 13, 14, 15 preseason seeded guys are so good.
You guys, Van D's at 14, and if he plays, none of us would be shocked, right?
Well, how about this Kurt Phipps at 19? I mean, he beat Drake Ayala in freestyle this year.
Yeah.
When Drake came up. I mean, that's just how good this weight is. And everybody's got Drake in the finals of the national tournament. So
Clevo is really good. Ryan Miller is really good. Unger moving up a weight. Marlon Yarbrough showed a lot of promise last year. Yeah. Sorry, GT. Go ahead. I interrupted you. I apologize.
This is exactly why this happens, right? So I think when we talk about some of these other weight classes in the coming weeks, that it is a tough thing. And once again, Shawver, being a returning All-American, and I left him off, is that once again, the national tournament's wild. And but I think there's some aspects of 133 that I think there's a lot of style variance between Ayala, Bailey, Crookham, Ragusin, Frost. Those are 5 different styles of wrestling. And I think that this weight class had a lot of top heaviness for a long time with Fix and Vito. It'll just be interesting to see what happens this upcoming season.
David, can you repeat your picks? Because I did not hear.
Yeah, it's fine. Because I just changed my 8th spot. I did not have Penn State because I think Braden Davis is going to wrestle, and I think he's a little limited on offense. And I think these guys have more offense. I went Ayala, Crookham, Frost, Bailey, Bird, Arini, Shawver, and I added in Cale Hughes at 8 from Oklahoma State.
I thought Cale was going 41.
Not what I heard yesterday.
Okay. Well, that makes a difference. I agree Cale Hughes is good enough to be top 8.
Well, they have some things to figure out, but I heard yesterday Hughes 33, Tegan 41, Carter 49, Teague 57, Amin 65, DJ 74, Plot 84, Serber 97, the greatest American hero heavyweight.
Okay.
Certainly that's subject to change, right? But, part of making picks is GT said in past, it's a gut pick, right? Figs looked really good at the beginning of the year as a pick, and in January, are you out of your mind? And then these other things, guys look good, and then, all year, and then they don't. I think at 41, we had Real Woods win in, and it took 4th. And that wasn't a bad pick, but he lost twice. So, All right, we'll go to 41. We got time, so I like this. So, our picks last year. Mark had Woods, Hardy, Mendez, Bartlett, McNeil, Matthews, Cornella, Jack. I had Bartlett, Woods, McNeil, Hardy, Mendez, Jack, Cornella, Carlson. GT had Woods, Bartlett, Hardy, McNeil, Matthews, Carlson, Mendez, Jack. So Mark had Mendez the highest. I had Bartlett at first, so maybe the closest to. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to interpret this. We all slept a little bit on Mendez. So, you know, and then I don't think Ryan Jack not placing, I think, surprised all of us. And Lachlan McNeil, I no longer sleep on that dude after watching GT take him in our auction draft, and literally had the biggest grin on his face of all the guys he bid on. I walk over to him, I go, sleeper. He goes, dog. That's what he said to me. He goes, dog, straight dog. And then he runs through the bracket. So I was like, okay, missed on that one. All right. The rankings this year: Alirez, Mendez, Bartlett, Hardy, Jack, Vombar, Happel, Lemley, Coderhant, Vasquez, Titus, Edmund, Jameson, Campasto, Frankie Taushahar, Sam Latona, Upaway, Cornella, Moses Schwartz, Danny Pacino, Malik Hines. That's the top 20 at Intermat. Over here, I'm just looking for major differences. I don't really see a lot. Cleveland Belton is at 15 over here. That's really it. They got Wyatt Henson at 24, who won a bunch of matches last year and had a bad national tournament. All right. So I guess this is my turn to go first. I am going to I got to scroll over here. I apologize, boys. Okay. I'm going Mendez. I believe I understand to a certain extent why Alirez is ranked 1, but Mendez is the defending champ this year. I understand that Alirez placed ahead of him last year. Not saying that's wrong, but he did beat him in a freestyle match. I also understand that doesn't mean anything to a lot of people, but they did wrestle. I'm going to go Bo Bartlett 3rd. Sorry, I'm kind of just doing this while I'm typing, so I apologize. Fourth and 5th. I like Lemley at 4. I feel like he's going to make a big jump this year. He had some really good matches last year for people that don't know, the freshman out of Michigan. He beat, am I right, guys, that he beat Woods during the season?
Yeah, not by a point or two.
He majored him, right?
Yep.
Okay. That was in the duel, right? Because I remember watching that on BTN. I'm going to go Hardy 5. I'm going to go Ryan Jack 6. Feel like he's ready to get that deal done there. I'm going to go Josh Edmonds 7. I think he punches through. He was a guy that would win spectacularly and then lose close matches. And I feel like he figured it out a little bit last year. And then I'm going to take Vombar 8th. I like the way he came through actually, you know what? I'm going to take Cale Happel 8th. All right. So, Mark, you're up.
I'm up.
Yep.
I'm going to take Mendez 1.
Okay.
I'm going to go Alirez 2.
Okay.
I agree with you on, I think Bartlett will be 3. I'm going to go Brock Hardy 4. I'm going to go Etchemendia 5.
Oh, wait, you think he's going to get back down?
I think if Iowa State wants to get a trophy, he needs to be at 141 because Pinheiro Johnson is going to wrestle off at 49. I think if Pinheiro beats him, he'll go down. Pinheiro will be at 49, and then they're solid the rest of the way up. So I'm just going with the gut feeling what I think might happen. 6, I'm going to go Lemley. 7, I'm going to go with Happel. And 8, I'm going to go with Josh Coderhant from Davie, who I really like.
Yeah, he's from right around my area, right across the river. GT.
Yep. All right, you guys ready? You guys ready for some madness?
Yeah, just don't go too fast because I got to copy and paste, but go ahead.
All right. I'm going to take Mendez champ. Alirez runner-up. Bo Bartlett third. Hardy 4. I'm going to take Josh Coderhant from Navy 5. Take Ryan Jack 6. I'm going to take Cale Happel at 7 and Jacob Frost at 8.
Oh, that's strong. I like that. Okay. So this is the problem. We got to we can take a pause here. We may not get to 49. Iowa State's got this problem, right? Like they got all these dudes between 41 and 65 that they got to get in the lineup, right? Like 25 is going to be the Cuban, 33 is going to be Frost, 41 is going to either be Frost or Etchemendia or Etchemendia, 49 is going to be him or Pinheiro, 57 is going to be Pinheiro or Chittum. And then 65 is going to be, who does Iowa State have at 65?
Grant.
Is Gaitan's at 74, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So they have somebody good at 65. I don't know why I'm not thinking of
I'm
it.
guessing it's going to be Riggins from Iowa that transferred.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing.
They got a guy named Connor Uton ranked there by Intermat. That's interesting.
He's really good.
He
Is
is?
it better than
Yeah.
Riggins, you think, Grant?
Well, I mean, Riggins has been wrestling 84 for a season and a half. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Riggins at a new location and a new weight where he's probably more naturally fitted. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. But I think as far as, once again, I think that as we're doing our individual picks that will then assort kind of our team stuff, I think why we bring up some of these things because some of these teams are in that team hunt race, but I think that you're going to see their lineup set maybe in December. You're going to give these guys opportunities to compete, go out and do different duels, see some guys maybe split some time, and just see like kind of what happens, specifically with Iowa State, because we know that that's a logjam and that's a national conversation between Etchemendia, Pinheiro, Swiderski.
Okay. I wanted to ask you that, GT. I apologize for interrupting you. Is there any chance we see Etchemendia at 41, Swiderski 49, Pinheiro 57, Chittum 65?
I mean, I have no inkling of that being a legitimate proposition.
Well, 65 is not very good this year.
I mean, outside of like having it be almost one of the toughest weight classes in the country last year.
Yes, but a bunch of people cleared out. Okay. I mean, Olynyk's gone, Hamidi's gone, Carr's gone. I mean, Mark and I looked at it like Mitchell Messenbrink's probably the favorite to win the Hodge this year if it wasn't for Starace with a chance to win 5 in terms of most bonus points. I mean, Caliendo's 2 and he majored him twice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know anything about what Iowa State's going to do. I did an interview with Dresser back in like April, and I think we're going to finally get it posted on Matt Chat. But, I mean, they got a very interesting team because they got Noctaburin at 74. He's a possibility. They got Bachman, who probably will go 84. Christian Carroll transferred. You know, Bastida scored 2 points or 3 points in nationals last year, and that guy has beaten Hendrickson. You know, beat him in the Big 12s. I mean,
Iowa State's going to be really good this year. They're going to have one of the best dual teams in the country. That's a nasty lineup you're going to have to go through. I'm not sure where they're going to end up at nationals. I think they're top 5 for sure. I don't think they would do any worse than 5, but they have to get their lineup to where they can place at multiple weights. And that's going to be why I think somebody has to cut down. I think Pinheiro is good enough to place really high at 49, but maybe even higher at 57, David. That's the thing.
well, this is a good thing to talk about because we'll stop here with our picks. But 49, the top 8, are Henson, Van Ness, Waters, Parko, Lovett, McNeil, Echemendia, Jackson, Arrington, and then Lamer 9, Wayland 10, who's really good. Cannon, Webster, D'Amelio. At 57, Teamer, Shapiro, Peyton Keller, Antrell Taylor, Tyler Kasak, Ed Scott, Ryder Downey. Those names don't scare you as much as those names at 49. And like Intermat's got Pinheiro at number 11 at 57. And if you said, can he beat Patty Gallagher? This is just my opinion. Can he beat Patty Gallagher? Yes. Teague Travis, yes. Tommy Askey, yes. Ryder Downey, yes. Ed Scott, yes. Could he wrestle Antrell Taylor? I certainly think he can. Can he beat Peyton Keller? I certainly think he can. I mean, I think he's top 5 at 57, like you're saying. You know, and then, I mean, it's interesting they got him ranked here. So, I mean, they must think that's happening. And then I don't know, that would take Chittum, according to Intermat, out of the lineup.
Yeah.
Which, because it's Connor Uton. Am I pronouncing his name right? GT?
Yeah.
Where's he out of?
He's out of Ohio.
Ohio?
Yeah. So I think that, once again, I think when you have somebody like David Carr in front of you, you don't get much opportunity to showcase anything, and you're not necessarily going to a lot of the open tournaments where you get to see that guy compete. But yeah, he's beat some really good guys. I know he beat Benacki from Arkansas Little Rock, who's very formidable and a good wrestler. But yeah, I think once again, once you get into that Division I grind of a schedule, you're gonna have to wrestle dudes day in, day out, tough matches all the time. So once again, he's still pretty young, so he's a sophomore. So
here's his profile on Iowa State's website. Westerville North High School, school's first state champion since 2010, 2-time state champ, 39-0 as a junior, pinned his opponent in 98 seconds to win his second state title as a senior, to redshirted 22-23, 23-24, 20-4. He beat Joey Bianchi, just like GT said, won open titles at the Grandview Open, third at the Daktronics Soldier Salute, beat Blaine Brenner, number 32 at the Soldier Salute, 17 bonus point victories, 2 falls, 9 techs, 6 majors. So that's a dude who's pretty legit. So that's one of the more fascinating lineups, right? Like, so people that don't understand how team rankings are computed, it's all based on the individual rankings, and then you just stack them. So like if you pick Richie Figueroa to win 125, he's worth 20 points. It doesn't compute bonus, but it's 16 for first plus 4 advancement points. Okay. And shout out to Win Magazine. They were the first guys to do this years ago to add the advancement points in. Okay. So maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody did it before them. That was the first time I saw it. It was years ago. So what's interesting is, like, as we're doing this, I'm trying to put in the names of the schools, because then at the end I can just do a sort by school and the points and add them up. And it'll be interesting to see if what we have ranked, like if, like maybe we have Iowa State at 9 or something, like, well, we missed somebody, right? Like it, or you have Oklahoma State ahead of Iowa. And Iowa posted their lineup yesterday and where they're ranked. They have 8 dudes ranked, 7 dudes ranked in the top 8. And then Keeter's at 11. And I think most people think Keeter can place. So that's going to be interesting. All right. It feels like kind of a slow wrestling watch weekend this weekend. I don't think there's anything too crazy going on. Did I miss anything, GT or Mark?
Nothing I know of.
So it's a perfect time to go to athleteps.com. Look what I did there, GT, and go get your freaks. Go get your freaks on.
There you go.
Your freaks on. Go put them on your feet. So are the Olympic colorway shoes, the Tawas and the Inflict, still selling really well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Once again, I think that there was a very limited run for the Olympic colorway, but if you have your size available, definitely go and grab it now.
It was interesting, Mark, when they came out. I should have known this. Nike did that colorway across all their sports. I think Oklahoma State thinks they just did it for them. So,
Hey, before you go, I got a guest that I want to introduce on the pod. It'll take a second. Hang on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also
This
thought,
can't possibly go wrong. What's about to happen?
yeah. Everybody thought it was like, oh, this is a very Dutch colorway. So like everybody from the Netherlands was like, oh, this was made for us. I'm like, oh no, it wasn't. Well, there you go.
This is Gia.
Gia.
He's
Okay.
13 weeks old.
You just got a new dog?
He's a teddy bear. That's the type of dog she is. We just got a new puppy.
Well, nice.
We had
Congratulations.
a dog for 16 years and she passed away 2.5 years ago. This was Dana's 50th birthday gift.
Wow, you put Dana's age out there on blast, bro.
It's okay.
You could have just said it was her birthday. That'd have been just fine. You could have said she was 39.
Right.
Like, nobody needs to know that. What?
It's a big one. So, yeah.
It's a big one. Yes.
So, we have another new member.
Happy birthday, Dana. Her birthday was relatively recently?
Yeah, it was September.
Okay. Happy belated birthday, Dana. All right. And other than that, I think we're good. So we appreciate everybody watching and listening. We love talking about wrestling all year long, but doing the picks and just imagining how wrong we're going to be in March is one of my favorite times of the year. Next week, we'll get in the NWCA All-Star Meet. I will say this, super excited they put together Kekheisen Starachi. I think everybody wants to see that match. I hope they do change the order, so that's the last match. But all right, thank you guys for watching and listening, and we will see y'all next week.